When I gave her a handwritten recipe book passed down from my mother, she tossed it on the fireplace and said, "No one cooks Depression-era food anymore." My son said, "She's just trying to keep things fresh." But I had the recipes backed up digitally, and registered with a publisher. When her blog used one and claimed it as her own, the cease-and-desist came with a title that read, "I'm Diane. I'm 62. I live in a small town outside Asheville, North Carolina. My husband, Jerry, passed away 7 years ago from pancreatic cancer. He was the love of my life. We were together for 35 years. Since he died, it's just been me, my cat Tipper, and my garden. I have one son, Mark. He's 35. I love him with everything I've got, even though I don't understand most of what he says anymore. He used to be this sweet, easygoing kid. The kind who sat with me on Sunday mornings while I baked. Now, he barely calls unless he needs something. About 3 years ago, he married Jenna. She's 34. A social media wellness coach. That's what she calls herself. To me, she's just fake. Fake smile, fake voice, fake kindness. Everything about her screams, "Look at me." She's always doing some juice cleanse, some yoga pose, or filming herself for her food blog. I tried. I really did. I smiled. I cooked. I invited them over. I kept my mouth shut when she brought her own almond butter to my house, because your peanut butter probably has hydrogenated oils. But it was always one-sided. Jenna never showed any real interest in me or my life. She acted like I was just some outdated appliance that came with Mark. Too old-fashioned to matter. Then came the day I gave her the recipe book. It was during their second wedding anniversary dinner at my house. I made pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans with bacon grease, and a peach cobbler. The kind of food that fills your stomach and quiets the noise in your head. After we ate, I went to the drawer in the hallway and pulled out the red book. My mother gave it to me when I turned 30. Her mother gave it to her before that. It had food stains, bent corners, and notes in the margins in my mom's faded handwriting. It smelled like old flour and thyme. I wrapped it in a clean floral tea towel and tied it with twine. When I handed it to Jenna, I swear, something inside me felt warm. I really thought, maybe this will be the moment. Maybe this will be when she sees me as family. She opened it, flipped a few pages, and scrunched her nose. She didn't even pretend to like it. She looked up, laughed a little, and said, "This is cute. But no one cooks Depression-era food anymore." Then she stood up, walked over to my fireplace. The one Jerry built when he was still healthy, and tossed the damn thing right into the flames. The tea towel caught first. Then the paper. I saw the page with Grandma's biscuit recipe curl up into ash. I was frozen. My mouth was open, but nothing came out. I looked at Mark, hoping, praying, he'd say something. He didn't. He just shrugged and said, "She's just trying to keep things fresh, Mom. Don't take it so personally." I stood up and left the room. Went into the kitchen and sat down at the table with my hands in my lap. I didn't cry. I just stared at the sugar canister. I could feel something shift in my chest, like a door closing and locking from the inside. But here's what Jenna didn't know. I had backed up every single page of that book. About a year before, I had scanned it. Every recipe. Every note. I even took pictures of the oil stains and the pressed flowers. I typed it up and formatted it nice and clean. I registered it through a small independent publisher in Asheville and bought myself 3 ISBNs. I had plans to get a few copies printed for Christmas, but after Jerry died, I just stopped. Still, everything was protected. Every word. Fast forward 2 months. I'm at home when my friend Beth sends me a text. She's not into social media much, but her daughter showed her something. The message said, "Is this your biscuit recipe?" Attached was a link to Jenna's blog. She'd rebranded it recently, now calling it Clean Comforts with Jenna. Her angle was modern takes on traditional meals. Real food, real ingredients, fake origin stories. I clicked on the link. Right there, front and center, was my biscuit recipe. My grandma's recipe. Word for word. Even the damn footnote about freezing the butter and using white pepper. The title? A Southern classic my grandma never made but I perfected. I wanted to throw my phone at the wall. There was even a picture of her holding a basket of biscuits in front of a white subway-tiled kitchen, with a caption about getting back to her Southern roots. I sat there shaking. My hands were ice cold. She didn't just copy a recipe. She burned the book. Mocked it. Then stole it, dressed it up in Instagram filters, and sold it as hers. I didn't say anything to Mark. Not yet. I called my publisher instead. I still had the emails, the registration, the submission dates, the files. It was all there. And within 48 hours, my lawyer had sent out the first cease-and-desist letter. We made sure the title wasn't subtle. Copyright violation, you are not the author of Grandma's Biscuits. We attached screenshots, timestamps, and the registered copyright info. Legal, clear, and final. The post disappeared off Jenna's blog within 48 hours. She didn't say anything. No apology. No update. Just gone. I waited. A few days later, Mark called. He wasn't calm. Why are you attacking Jenna's blog? He snapped. She stole from me, I said, plain and even. You could have just called her. She could have just not burned the book. There was a long pause. Then he said the one thing I never thought I'd hear from my own son. She's trying to build something, Mom. Maybe you should stop holding on to the past. I hung up the phone. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I opened my laptop and sent out the next letter. She'd posted hearty potato pie last month. A copy of my mom's dinner pie, even down to the part where you press the fork into the crust in a crisscross. The subject line on that one? You cannot claim you perfected what you did not create. Then I sent one for the molasses cookies. Molasses cookies aren't yours to monetize. Then the skillet cornbread. You set the book on fire, you don't get to eat from it. With each letter, she deleted more content. Comments on her blog disappeared. Her Instagram posts slowed. You could see the panic. The content dried up. But I wasn't just trying to scare her. I was dragging her back down to the truth. And I was just getting started. Because I had a new plan forming. A better one. And Jenna? She had no idea what was coming next. Jenna went quiet for a while after the third letter. Her blog hadn't been updated in 2 weeks. Her Instagram page had fewer and fewer posts. And the ones she did upload? They weren't the same. Gone were the long, heartfelt captions. Now it was just short blurbs and awkward smiles. Like she was trying to push through, but her shine was wearing off. I kept watching. Quietly. And then, one afternoon, I got a text from Samantha. I didn't recognize the number at first, but she introduced herself quickly, Jenna's sister. She said, I've been following the drama. I just want you to know, not everyone in the family's on her side. We talked. A lot more than I expected. Turns out, Jenna's been pulling this kind of thing for years. In college, she copied someone's essay and tried to pin it on a group partner. At her last job, some marketing firm in Charlotte, she got written up for taking credit for another girl's ad concept. Samantha said Jenna had a habit of borrowing things until she owned them. That hit me hard. Because that's exactly what she tried to do with me. With my family. With our food. Samantha also told me something else. Something bigger. Jenna had landed a potential deal with a company that specialized in subscription recipe boxes. She had pitched them the idea of heritage-inspired meals with a modern twist. She sent over samples of biscuits, cookies, even the dinner pie. The company had been considering her as a feature creator. And right before I sent that first cease and desist, she signed the preliminary agreement. I wasn't just ruining her blog. I was blowing up her entire side business. Samantha said Jenna had been panicking, scrambling to replace the recipes, trying to rewrite everything. But it was too late. The contract required everything to be original and legal. Turns out, the company had their own legal team. And once they got my letters forwarded to them, they started asking questions. Serious ones. Now Jenna was in danger of breaching contract. And that's when Mark showed up at my door. Unannounced. It was a Saturday morning, and I was trimming my rose bushes when I heard his car. I looked up and saw him get out, face red, jaw clenched. He walked straight up the driveway like he had a right to be angry. "You need to stop this," he said. No greeting. No warmth. I stood still. Stop what? This legal stuff. You're ruining her career. No, Mark. She did that when she burned my book and stole from me. She didn't know. She knew enough to change the title. She knew enough to pretend those recipes were hers. He didn't respond right away. Just looked around the yard like he was searching for something to say. Then he said it. "She's pregnant." My chest tightened. I didn't expect that. "And you're doing all this," he continued, "while we're trying to start a family." For a second, I felt torn. I thought about the little one. A grandchild. A baby who didn't ask for any of this. But then I remembered the fire. The smell. The look on Jenna's face when she tossed that book in like it was nothing. "She's pregnant," I said slowly, "and this is the kind of example you want for your child?" Mark flinched. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked him in the eye and said, "If you think I'm going to roll over and let her steal from my family, from your family, because she's pregnant, you don't know me at all." He left without another word. That night, I couldn't sleep. So I opened my laptop. And I started writing. Not legal letters. Not threats. I started pulling together my recipes. The full collection. But not just the ones Jenna stole. All of them. The ones she never saw. The stews. The preserves. The ones from my aunt in Kentucky and my cousin in Missouri. And I added stories next to each one. Short ones. About who taught me the recipe, and when. The first time I made it for Jerry. The time I burned the pie but we ate it anyway. Honest, simple stories. Real ones. I called it Ashes to Apples. Recipes they couldn't burn. I decided I was going to publish it myself. Not just as a PDF. Not hidden on a flash drive. A real, printed book. With photos. With my name on it. Something that would last long after I was gone. And if Jenna tried to copy anything again, it would be even easier to take her down. But just when I thought things were cooling off, something new happened. Jenna sent me a letter. Not through email. Not through Mark. An actual envelope. White. Handwritten. Inside was a 2-page letter. It started with, "You don't know the whole story. And you're not the only one with secrets." I read that letter 3 times in one sitting. The handwriting was neat, too neat. Not Jenna's usual bubbly cursive from the recipe cards on her blog. This was sharp, careful. Like she took her time. Or maybe like she was afraid I'd miss something if she didn't make it clear. The first page was full of defensive fluff. She said things like, "I didn't mean to disrespect you, and I honestly thought I was honoring the tradition by sharing it." She claimed she'd only thrown the book in the fire as a joke, because she thought I had a digital backup, which she somehow assumed without asking. But the second page. That's where it shifted. She wrote, "You've made your point. But if you keep this up, it won't just hurt me. It'll hurt Mark. There are things he doesn't know. Things you'd probably rather stay buried." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Things he doesn't know. I set the letter down on the kitchen table, walked over to the sink, and just stood there, gripping the counter. At first, I thought she was bluffing. She'd already backed herself into a corner. But that last line, it didn't feel like a bluff. So I called Samantha. She didn't answer, so I texted her a picture of the second page. 10 minutes later, she called me back, whispering. "Don't ignore that," she said. "What does she mean?" I asked. There was a pause on the line. Then Samantha sighed. "She knows about Mark's old credit issue. The one from years ago when he tried to open that brewery with his friend." That stunned me. That was something Mark had come to me in private about, 5 years back. He'd taken out a loan he couldn't handle, defaulted, and nearly tanked his credit. I helped him pay it off. Jerry was already gone by then. We never told anyone. "She told me once, in college," Samantha continued, "that she liked having something she could hold over people. She said, everyone's got a screw up in the closet. You just have to wait for the right time to open the door." I felt sick. That wasn't just manipulative. That was planned. Calculated. She was threatening to ruin her own husband's trust in me, her child's father, to protect her image. It took everything in me not to drive straight to their apartment that night. Instead, I waited. And something else happened. A week later, I got a call from Beth again. She sounded excited. "Diane, you won't believe it," she said. "Check Jenna's blog." I pulled it up. It was gone. Every recipe post. Every banner. Every smiling video. Replaced with a single page that said, "This site is under construction." But I knew better. She didn't take it down to revamp her brand. She took it down because the company she tried to partner with had officially backed out. I found that out 2 days later when Samantha forwarded me an email Jenna had left open on her laptop, a termination notice. The subject line? Contract voided due to copyright violation concerns. The deal was dead. There would be no subscription box. No cookbook deal. No speaking event in Atlanta she'd been bragging about. All gone. But then came the twist I didn't expect. Mark showed up again. This time, he didn't yell. He looked tired. Really tired. Pale. Worn out. His eyes looked like mine the week Jerry died, like he'd been living in a fog. We sat on the porch in silence for a bit. Then he said, "She told me you threatened her." I didn't respond right away. "I read the letters," he continued. "The real ones. I found them in her desk." I raised my eyebrows. He saw the look on my face and nodded. "Yeah," he said. "You didn't threaten her. You just told the truth." I swallowed hard. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "She's not who I thought she was." Those words cracked something in me. Not relief. Not satisfaction. Just sadness. Because even though she'd hurt me deeply, this wasn't what I wanted for my son. But then he dropped another truth. "I found a second phone," he said. I blinked. She had a second phone. For her brand stuff. I wasn't supposed to see it. I waited. There were messages, with some guy named Aaron. He's her photographer. I thought he was just doing her promo shoots. But, he didn't finish. He didn't need to. He knew. She'd been cheating. While stealing. While lying. While using my recipes. While threatening me over the truth. She was also cheating on my son. I reached out and put my hand on his shoulder. He didn't cry. He just looked out at the street. Then he said, quietly, "I don't think I can raise a child with her." I didn't say anything for a while. But deep inside, I knew what was coming next. Because Mark wasn't the only one digging through old files. While Jenna was trying to rebuild her blog behind closed doors, I had been working on something new. A blog. A book deal. A feature in the local newspaper. Even a guest spot on a podcast about Southern family food traditions. And I had one more card up my sleeve. The blog name? Fireproof Recipes. Tagline, "What they tried to burn, we preserved." And the best part? I wasn't launching it alone. Because Samantha had just agreed to co-write it with me. Turns out, she had stories too. And recipes. And a whole lot of truth about her sister that the world hadn't heard yet. And if Jenna thought the fire was out? She hadn't seen anything yet. I launched the blog on a quiet Monday morning. No big announcements. No sponsored posts. Just a clean homepage with a picture of my grandmother's hands rolling dough on a wooden counter and the words, "Fireproof Recipes, nothing good burns forever." Within 48 hours, we had over 3,000 views. It started small. Just a few recipes. My original biscuit post, this time with pictures of the original scans and side-by-side comparisons showing Jenna's blog and mine. I didn't name her outright. I didn't have to. People connected the dots real fast. Samantha added her posts too. Stories from growing up with Jenna. Family photos. Little things, like how Jenna once submitted their mom's peach cobbler recipe to a church cookbook contest when she was 12 and claimed she came up with it in a dream. People ate it up. We started gaining followers, real ones. Not the bot kind Jenna used to brag about. These were mostly older folks, Southern families, food historians. The comments started rolling in. People said things like, "My grandmother used to make this exact cornbread. Thank you for preserving this. That woman who burned your book. She messed with the wrong cook." We even got a call from a local Asheville TV station. They asked us to do a feature on preserving Southern food traditions. I wore my blue church dress and brought a plate of molasses cookies. Samantha stood beside me, confident and calm. It aired that Sunday night. By Tuesday, Jenna's world caved in. She was served papers. Not just for copyright violation, but for breach of contract and business fraud. See, that company she tried to partner with? The one she lied to about creating the recipes? They weren't done with her. After reviewing her blog's archived pages and realizing how many of her original recipes matched ours down to the comma, they filed their own legal action. The court documents made their way to the local news. It didn't take long before food bloggers and YouTubers started picking up the story. One channel titled the video, "Influencer Steals Grandma's Recipes, Gets Sued into Oblivion." Over 200,000 views in 2 days. Jenna tried to fight back. She made a video with puffy eyes and soft piano music playing in the background, talking about cancel culture and generational misunderstandings. But people weren't buying it. Because we had proof. Timestamps. Photos. Copies. Registrations. She didn't just plagiarize. She mocked a legacy, then tried to profit off it. Sponsors dropped her. Companies that used to send her PR kits publicly cut ties. Her Instagram comments section filled with biscuit emojis and #fireproof. Then came the final blow. Mark filed for separation. He called me first. Said he needed space from the whole mess. Said he couldn't raise a child in a home built on lies. That's when I asked, gently, "Is there even a child?" He was quiet for a long time. Then said, "I don't know anymore." Turns out, Jenna hadn't gone to a single prenatal appointment. She kept saying the doctor was a friend who did things privately. No ultrasounds. No paperwork. Nothing. When Mark pressed her about it, she broke down. Said she was scared. Then finally admitted it, there was no baby. She made it up. To buy herself time. To guilt me. To control him. Mark moved out that same week. She tried everything to get him back, crying, apologizing, even threatening to tell people I'd forced her into emotional distress. But Mark didn't fall for it. He showed up at my door one afternoon with a duffel bag and tear-streaked cheeks. I opened the door and just hugged him. No words. We spent that weekend in the kitchen. I taught him how to make scratch gravy for the first time. He burned the first batch. We laughed. He stayed in the guest room for 2 months while he looked for his own place. I told him he could stay forever if he wanted. Meanwhile, Fireproof recipes kept growing. We got picked up by a small regional publisher. They loved the idea of mixing food with real-life family drama. The book hit shelves in March. It sold out in the first 2 weeks. The title? What She Tried to Burn. Inside the cover was a photo of the original scorched tea towel. On the dedication page, I wrote, "For every woman whose hands built a home, and whose recipes couldn't be erased." As for Jenna, she lost everything. The blog. The sponsors. The followers. Her name was dirt in the food world. The court ordered her to pay fines for breach of contract and surrender all monetized content that matched my registered recipes. That included past videos, archived blog posts, and even saved Pinterest pins. She tried to start over under a new name, but the internet remembered. Every time she reappeared, someone would post a link to our story. She disappeared eventually. Rumor has it she moved back to her parents' place in Atlanta. No one's heard from her since. Samantha's doing great. She co-manages the blog with me now. We take turns posting. She's even teaching a local cooking class at the community center. The kids love her. Mark got his own apartment nearby. He's working again. Happier. Quieter. But we talk more now. And we cook together every Sunday. He's gotten pretty good at biscuits. And me? I got my peace back. Not because I destroyed Jenna. But because I made sure my family's story didn't die in that fire. I turned ashes into pages. And now the whole country's reading.